On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, the NBA draft is here, and so is Sam Vecenie. He's the best draft guy. He writes for The Athletic. He hosts the Game Theory podcast. He's become a good friend of mine. And this is basically the entire show. I wanted Sam on because he's the best at this stuff. He is well connected. He knows he knows like deep personal things about all these players. I mean, like I was reading through his big board, and one of the first things he mentions is the players' parents' names and where they grew up and all that kind of stuff, which I guess isn't that hard to figure out. But that's why the man is the best in the biz, though, is because he just gives you background stuff that you don't even think you know or want to know, I should say. And he knows everything about these guys. But as I told him on the show, like he presents it in a way that is not condescending or is not pretentious or anything else. And I freaking love it. Every time the NBA draft season rolls around, I turn to one man, and that one man is Sam Vecenie. And I thought it'd be fun to talk to him about the draft. So if you're juiced up for the NBA draft tonight, you come to the right place. Sam and I talked at length about, I want to say, most of the first round guys that'll go in the first round. A lot of the college guys as well. Obviously, I'm like one of the handful of people out there that cares about whether Oscar Tshiebwe would get drafted tonight. He won't, but so I threw some of that stuff at him. But I did my best to make sure we touched on most of the guys that are going to first round or expected to go first round. There are obviously going to be some dudes that fell through the cracks. I apologize if you are the family members of those players and you turn to the Mark Titus Show saying, I want to hear Titus and Vecenie talk about my son, and maybe we didn't talk about your son. Apologies. We meant nothing by that. This was no slight. But yeah, I wanted to do an extensive NBA draft preview, and Sam Vecenie is the one guy that we should talk to. So that's basically going to be the entire show today. We'll do a little cleanup stuff on the back end here and give some shout outs, but otherwise the meat and potatoes of today's show is an NBA draft preview with Sam Vecenie. I hope you enjoy it. All right, joining me now is a guy who's quickly establishing himself as the most recurring guest on this show, I would say. Friend of mine, NBA draft expert, Sam Vecenie, Game Theory podcast, writes for The Athletic. Put out the top 100. This was the final. You're not going to touch it, are you? I should say at the top, by the way, we're recording this on Monday. I think we're putting this out, Sam, on Thursday morning for the draft. So I think for most people listening to this, you probably won't touch it on Thursday, I would imagine. But as of Monday, is this it? Have you touched your big board for the last time?
Yes. I mean, look, I can't make changes at this point because I think that my editors will have a meltdown as much as I want to. Like, I kind of just made a decision on Friday that if I could draft Jaime Hawkins at like 18, I would just do it.
Let's go.
At the end of the day. Like, I just love Jaime Hawkins, and I believe he's going to be an NBA player and be really good at it. And he's like destroying workouts, like from everything I've been told. Like he's going in and just like destroying people.
This is why I love having you on the show, is because you speak my language. You just come in and you're like, yeah, the guy that's been the face of college basketball for the last few years, I would take him very high. And I'm like, yes, Sam, that's exactly why I see this too.
Yeah, I know, right? That makes things easier. Being good at basketball makes things easier in regard to playing basketball. Is that right?
I think so. Hell, I don't know anymore. Sometimes I watch these drafts and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on with what these guys are thinking. So last year, your big board, your big preview comes in, and I went back and checked because Jim Cunningham, my good friend and former producer, was he put together the list of all the books, the classic books that have been written that are shorter than your draft preview last year, which clocked in at 90,000 words. Did you eclipse that this year? Did you set a new record this year?
I did. It got to 130 this year.
Oh my God, dude.
An aggressive amount of words. I did background sections this year on players, which is why it ultimately jumped to the extent that it did. But yeah, look, I love what I do. It's great. I probably need to maybe take a step back in terms of maybe not rating 130,000, but yeah.
No, you're incredible. I mean, this is why I love having you on, and you and I became close friends because like I would read your shit all the time and steal your takes, and then at one point you're just like, hey man, if you're gonna steal my takes all the time, can you at least credit me? And then I think that's how we became drinking buddies in the first place. But
I think I was stealing your takes from the jump. So I think we're all
so
good.
there we go.
Yeah.
But let's dive into it. Let's talk about this draft because it is a draft. I think last time you were on the show, we were kind of circling, we were just teasing draft talk a little bit, and we said something about like this. If like 7, 8, 9, pick a number, but it's absurdly high given for an NBA draft. Different guys were in next year's draft. They might go number one. This is an absolutely loaded draft. And part of why people are so excited about it, or the big part, is obviously at the top, Victor Wembanyama. I suppose we start with this. I have to ask. I know the answer already, Sam, but after last year, when the number one pick, Orlando's number one pick, felt like it was leaning in a certain direction.
Yeah.
Then I think the way Woj described it is the winds changed at the last minute and they went Paolo. Is there any world, Sam? Is there any world whatsoever that Victor Wembanyama is some sort of smokescreen? Is there any world in which the San Antonio Spurs, the winds might change, as they say, and do not take Victor Wembanyama number one?
The winds might change toward Colin Castleton, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Another big, long 6'11" guy. No, look, he's going to go number one. I do think there's like an interesting thing happening at number two where it does feel like the reporting. I mean, look, I'll ask you this question, just being on the outside of it, because I feel like sometimes I'm so like insular in like the NBA world and everything where maybe I don't have the best read of it. But from the outside, like, do you feel like Brandon Miller is going number two?
It feels like there's been a big push for Brandon Miller, I think, but I don't. I freaking love Scoot Henderson, and I'm going back to you loving Hawkins and me just having my old man energy where I'm like, yes, take the college guy, don't overthink this. I also can't forget Brandon Miller had one of the worst NCAA tournaments I've ever seen in my life. So that's like weighing on me, like I agree with you. I do think there's like some sort of I don't know what's going on. This is what drives me crazy about the draft, and I don't understand how you survive in this world because it's like so many smoke screens and so much bullshit and so much bad info being floated. And like you get a guy that goes and works out for a team, and then you get two different lines of thinking about whether the workout went well, and it's impossible to like make sense of anything. But yeah, number two is like that's the inflection point of the draft, right? Because Charlotte might not even want to keep the pick, and if they do keep the pick, what do they do? But also at the same time, it seems kind of straightforward because it's like it was Scoot and Vic all the way up until suddenly it's not. I don't know. I'm confused. Explain this to me, Sam. What's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I would say that I don't think Charlotte has made a decision. Like everything I know about the Charlotte front office is that they go about this process like pretty methodically, and they don't like, maybe they went in thinking it was going to be one thing, like a little bit, maybe it was like 55-45, like one way. And then, they'd go through the process and be open to change. But I've never gotten the impression that this was a done deal, that it would be Brandon Miller at two. Like I just haven't. That was never the vibe I got. I never, and I feel like it was like that last year with Jabari Smith kind of too, where, oh yeah, everyone's just like, yeah, they're going to take Jabari at one. Jabari was courtside, or Jeff Weltman was courtside when Jabari dropped 40 or dropped 38 or whatever in that one game. And, again, this year, Jeff Weltman Mitch Kupchak was at a game where Brandon Miller went absolutely crazy against South Carolina. And these things just bloom and blossom and it becomes what's happening. And I'm not saying that Brandon Miller isn't going to go number two. I frankly don't know. And I don't know if Charlotte knows yet, is kind of my point. And it's a little bit weird that that's been the consensus.
So is this more, do you think it's more like Brandon Miller is wowing people in a way? Cause again, you're talking about like it being an outsider and not like living in this world. It was Victor Wembanyama is obviously number one. It was Scoot Henderson is obviously number two. And then Brandon Miller is probably number three for the longest time. This is for most of this season, it felt like. And then, yeah, like there was I think it might have been the South Carolina game where it was like suddenly there's conversations being had about whether Brandon Miller should go to, but in my opinion, it is the consensus has been Scoot is clearly the number 2 guy, and then now he's not. And I guess like however we got here, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, otherwise. I just want to like understand it better. Sam, do you think it is a case of Scoot Henderson is not as great as maybe as previously thought, or do you think Brandon Miller is somehow wowing in these workouts and interviews and some combination of both?
So it's more the way that Brandon played this season at Alabama that's making people question it, as well as the fact that the NBA in general right now has an aversion to smaller guards. More than anything, I think that's what teams are worried about. Can you defend with Scoot Henderson on the court in NBA finals setting where teams are going to try and attack your smallest player? I think the answer to that's yes. Scoot Henderson is, 6'3", has a 6'9" wingspan, and probably weighs more than Brandon Miller does right now, despite being 6 inches shorter than he is. Brandon Miller was very impressive this year. He was the kind of shot making wing that can attack mismatches and find those mismatches and string those guys out and be able to create shots on his own. I don't get it. I think Scoot Henderson is like pretty special.
Thank you.
But then you go back and you watch the G League season this year, and there were some flaws. There were holes. Like, he didn't have a great year, I would say. He shot like 32% from 3. There were moments defensively where, what he looked like? He looked like a guy that is like considered to be the ultra ultimate competitor, basically, who had nothing to compete for. Because everybody for years upon years has told him you're going to be the number 2 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And so he's not competing for that really. And then you're playing for this Ignite program where frankly, wins and losses don't matter at the end of the day.
No, that can't be right. He's not trying to hang a banner in the G League. Ignite.
Yeah. Not trying to hang a Nate Robinson Summer League MVP banner. So I think that led to things being harder for him, I guess is what I would say, throughout the course of this process, in terms of just like driving him to compete. Also, he dealt with injuries. Like, he hurt his ankle in January, and like I think he like busted his nose up in what was that? It would have been like December maybe. And then he got like a little minor hamstring thing or groin thing, something like that later in the year. So he dealt with a lot of injuries this year, which is just unfortunate, like little stuff that nobody's worried about long term. And I don't think there was anything for him to compete for. And I think he got a little bit bored.
So we should just dive into this, because I've been flirting with the idea of pulling the trigger on calling Victor Wembanyama bust, because more than anything else, Sam, it's just a high value. It's like the value is great. I mean, like when you have Woj,
you nail it.
Yeah, you have Woj going on TV saying this is the singular greatest prospect in NBA draft history and maybe the greatest prospect in the history of team sports, and I'm like falling out of my chair. Like, is this what we're doing? Is it this guy shoots 27% from 3? I'm not saying he's not going to be good, Sam. I'm just like, when you set a bar so high that he's a 27% 3-point shooter, he just got swept in the French finals. So like, never mind like stacking him up against LeBron. I'm looking at like Luka coming out of EuroLeague, when Luka's winning MVP and winning the EuroLeague and all this shit. And Victor Wembanyama's not doing that. He's not LeBron, where like LeBron was the most sure thing I've ever seen step into the league. I would say even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a bigger prospect than Victor Wembanyama, given that this man.
Frankly, I would say Kareem was a bigger prospect than LeBron.
Yeah. Right. So my whole Victor's a bust thing is just purely like as the outside world, and not only the outside, like the people in fucking basketball are saying that this guy is literally the single best prospect to ever step into the NBA. I'm the one brave voice stepping up and saying, no, he's not. And if he's, with that, I have to follow up the take, and I'm going to say, I think, because I say this full transparency, I have no problem admitting this. I watched Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson play one game each, and it was when they played each other. And I saw enough out of Scoot where I was like, fuck it, I'm putting all my eggs in the Scoot basket. Do you think there's a world where I can be right? Because this is a big swing for me, Sam. And I want to be right, but the value is too good to pass up, that I think if I get this right, this will be great for my draft career moving forward. That I just think Scoot has, he like the game I saw, he had an unreal feel for the game. His motor's insane. His athleticism is insane. He he's got the dog in him, which matters to me. It's a meme, but it also matters to me. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, I was like, this man is a basketball player, not a circus freak. So I love Scoot over Victor Wembanyama. How crazy am I?
I don't think that you're totally crazy. There was a point in January where I was kind of wondering, like, maybe I do like Scoot a little bit more. Maybe I am like closing in on him being in the same tier as Vic. At the end of the day, like, Victor Wembanyama is a 7'4" novelty with an 8-foot wingspan who can create his own shot like he's, I don't know, Paul George. And that feels anomalous to me in some regard. And all of the best players in NBA history, in my opinion, have been like fairly anomalous in a real way. Like, you can find the Scoot Henderson, precedents, right? Like Derrick Rose is the Scoot Henderson precedent.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, even down to the fact that, like, do you remember that year at Memphis with Derrick Rose? Like, it was maddening watching Derrick Rose settle for mid-range jumpers all the time, right? Despite the fact that he was the most athletic player on the court.
Right.
Happened this year with Scoot Henderson, right? So I think that Vic is undeniably the guy you have to take at one. I don't think it's crazy for you to end up being right. And here's why. A, Scoot has the dog. B, Scoot is just absolutely the kind of competitor that you want and that you beg to try and find in every single NBA draft. He's the kind of guy that every team is trying to build their culture around. He is incredible feel for the game. He's an incredible athlete. He's an awesome decision maker. And what you'd be betting against with Victor Wembanyama is the idea of him being able to play 3 to 4 games a week while staying in fully, good shape. And that was something that last year when he played for Osvel in the Euro League, he dealt with some injuries last year. He dealt with, I think that it was like a bruised shoulder blade. It was, I think he had like a core muscle injury. He got hurt a few times playing multiple times per week. Whereas this season playing for Metropolitans, that was like once every 6 days he was playing. He had a bunch of time off. He got to recover. You will hear NBA personnel mention that occasionally as something that they're like slightly worried about with Vic. I think if you're going to lean on that take, that's how you lean on that.
All right.
Take.
Oh, I feel good about it because I mean, like, if you don't pay any attention to Victor Wembanyama, you would be led to believe that this man, like, you watch his highlights and of course he's insane, but then if you were to actually like suss out the numbers, you'd be like, this man's shooting 27%. Like, I don't want to see the 1-3 that he hit, or I don't want to see like the one, like, his highlights are insane, of course, but he's not even putting up that absurd of numbers. He's not, I don't,
they're pretty absurd for what it's worth. Like, he's a teenager that's leading the French league, which is filled with like.
But no, hold on. I don't mean like not good, Sam. I mean, if you're saying this is the greatest prospect ever, then when you have Luka Doncic that was putting up insane numbers not too long ago in the Euro League.
Yeah, look, I don't think he's the best prospect ever. I agree with you.
Okay,
like completely.
So
I'm 100% with you on this.
That's the take. Is that he's the best? He's like GOAT tier good, and I'm saying no, he's not. He's not GOAT. And ultimately, it comes down to this, Sam. It's like I think NBA media, we just need to get a grip, and like, you cannot be foaming at the mouth over a skinny French dude when you have a fucking like tank of a guard from Georgia right there. You know what I mean? Like, it comes down to that. And it's like, what like, what are we doing? We're going all in on the skinny French dude versus the tank from Georgia. Like, what are we doing? Come on.
And it's weird. Like, it feels like NBA media has like made this decision to go away from Scoot. Like they've been like, no, Scoot's a bust. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. And it's just like, wait, why are we doing this? Scoot is awesome. Like, Scoot's going to be like one of the most marketable athletes like on planet Earth if he's good.
I can't wait for Victor Wembanyama to score like 27 points in his first game and just people.
Oh, he's probably going to
blowing me up and telling me I'm a
so
fucking
funny.
moron. And
yesterday, someone like tweeted a video from February of this Czech center Andre Balvin, like basically moving Scoot and like pushing him into the basket and dunking on him. And everyone was like, yeah, he's too skinny. He's a bust. If you go back and you figure out what Victor Wembanyama did in that game, he had like 22 points, 17 rebounds. He blocked 6 shots. He had 4 steals. He made 4 threes. Like, it's just completely ridiculous. And then like everyone takes that one highlight of him just getting like bodied into the basket. And
that's me.
Just like,
that's
yeah,
me taking the one highlight.
Yeah.
I don't know. He is. I mean, like I part of my Vic hate is just ultimately like it did. Like I kind of already said it 100 times, but I'm gonna say it again. Like it just kind of comes down to, this is no longer fun or funny to me as an American basketball fan. That like there are dudes like this popping up elsewhere in the world. Like this isn't a joke anymore, and it's time for this country to get serious and lock back in.
Do we need to have the conversation about revamping the AAU system?
Yes. Let's blow up the AAU.
We're moving
system
toward the old Big East portion of the conversation.
Yes, right. Oh man, so Vic's going number one. Nothing like that's definitely happening. Is it like I was trying to think about this today? Like what could Victor Wembanyama do between now and the draft to not go number one? Like what I'll do it this way. I will read a list of slurs, Sam, and you tell me which ones of these, if he tweeted, he would no longer go number one. Okay.
Honestly, like I think it would have to be like a legal situation.
Illegal, yeah.
I don't even know that like tweets would do it.
They shrug their shoulders and are like, yeah, whatever. So let's talk about the draft, the 30,000 foot view. Given how much talent is in this draft, and how excited teams at the top are about, like, you know, if my beloved Indiana Pacers at 7, there's a handful of dudes that are going to fall to the Pacers that you get really excited about. Do you think at the top, as we're working our way through like the top 10, this will have a feel? And there's obviously it depends on team and all that sort of thing, but just in general, do you feel like this draft, as we're looking at some of these decisions the team will have to make, is going to be dictated by the best available type line of thinking or the best fit for the team? Because some of the reason I ask this is because Charlotte at 2, that seems to be the conversation with, like, even if Scoot is the obvious pick, can Scoot and LaMelo play together? And you start talking yourself out of that. And then, you know, like Detroit at 5, you start wondering about their fit. And you're like, if Jarace Walker's there, but they have Jalen Duren, like what happens? So my thought is, Sam, do you think that teams will just be like, we love this guy, this is our guy? Or do you think they'll start factoring in stuff like that with LaMelo and Scoot, for example?
I think they're definitely starting to factor it in a little bit with LaMelo and Scoot. The funny thing is that I think they're just like completely complementary of one another, like in a way that Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell were this season. Mm-hmm. Different, you know, players in terms of like Scoot. I think Scoot actually is like kind of similar to Donovan Mitchell. Darius is a little bit different than LaMelo, obviously, but LaMelo's like a threes and shots at the rim, transition guard who can really pass and like plays with a lot of flair and, you know, is aesthetically probably a bit more of a finesse kind of guard, whereas Scoot is like pure power, you know, has a great mid-range game, has a great pull-up game, has the ability to get all the way to the rim and like throw down on dudes. I think that they actually would play exceptionally well together. With Brandon Miller, I think that Brandon Miller is also a fit, and it just comes down to the fact that NBA teams right now are obsessed with these like 6'6" to 6'9" wings that can create shots and, you know, be able to play in numerous different environments while creating mismatches. Now, the interesting ones come at 4 and 5 in regard to fit. I think Portland just takes whoever falls of Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller. If 4 and 5, there's like a real interesting push-pull happening where I think that Houston does like Cam Whitmore, and I think they also like Amen Thompson. But Houston is also in the midst of trying to chase James Harden to try and get him to come back to Houston. Mm-hmm. So if you have James Harden, you have Jalen Duren, do you want to take Amen Thompson or do you want to take Cam Whitmore because he probably fits more as like a power wing on the perimeter there? And then at number 5, Detroit has like myriad options where they could take one of the Thompson twins. They could take Jarace Walker. They could take Cam Whitmore if they want to, or they could even just take the guy that like kind of fits best, which is Taylor Hendricks, because he's like a 3-and-D guy who can space the floor for Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, who can, you know, create a bit of separation for Jalen Duren to be able to rim run and do things like that. So those are the spots where team fit, I think, really will come into play, and it'll be interesting to see how much that tracks into their conversations.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so excited to watch this draft, just as a pure like television event. Like I don't think it is quite as obvious as drafts in the past as where teams are going to go and what their line of thinking is going to be, because of stuff like that. So you brought up the Thompson twins. We're talking. We spent a lot of time talking about Vic and Scoot. Let's just dive into it. The war on college basketball, it is at our doorstep, and it is raging on in a way we've probably never seen before with this draft. What I guess let's talk. We talked about Scoot and Vic, the Thompson twins. What who are they? What is overtime elite? Like what? Like what is going on? Why is it that college basketball fans in my life are excited about the draft and are looking up mock drafts and they're seeing a bunch of names at the top they don't recognize? Amen and Ausar Thompson. Like what's the difference between the two? What do we need to know about these guys?
Yeah, so Amen is a point guard, Ausar is a wing, essentially. And they're both like 6'7" with a 7-foot wingspan. Amen is like, it's like watching, you don't want to get like hyperbolic with these guys, but athletically, it's hard not to get hyperbolic about Amen Thompson. His jump stop, like when he goes into the paint and then like, it covers like 8 feet. Like it's insane. Like he's like a long jumper, like in the middle of the paint, and he does it while like avoiding obstacles. It's ridiculous. He throws down ridiculous dunks. He has an incredible first step. He is. It's almost like watching like a less physical version who's like more elongated, like body wise, of like Russell Westbrook kind of.
Okay.
Like he's constantly attacking, constantly probing, like trying to get into the paint. Like he doesn't have that like sheer physical power that Russ had, because Russ was just like a fucking brick shit house and just would move people all the time.
Does he have that attitude? Is he trying to dunk on everybody at all times? He's got that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Or like throw up like a crazy, like, inside hand, right hand, left side of the basket finish with English, like off. There's like so much flair and power to his game. And the other thing about the Thompson twins, like elite level, like character kids, like unbelievable human beings, where you believe that they're going to continue to get the best out of themselves. Ausar is a wing. Ausar is like a little bit more polished. Like he'll like drive and throw up some like crazy, like driving sky hooks to try and finish around the basket. Like just really polished, really cool game. A little bit better of a defender at this point than what Amen is. Amen is twitchier. Ausar is more polished, is kind of the way to phrase it. Ausar is the wing. Ausar is a little bit further along as a shooter, but neither of them are really shooters at this point. Amen, I think, probably won't shoot moving forward. Ausar maybe will shoot, but I think you'd be placing a pretty significant bet on it at that point. Yeah, it's hard. They're tough to evaluate, but the ceiling is ridiculously high. Like Amen, it is impossible to find athletes like Amen Thompson. He is a one of one in this draft. Like you just said, Scoot Henderson is an elite athlete. Like Amen Thompson is a better athlete than Scoot Henderson. It's insane.
Wow. How do you say his name? Ausar?
Yeah.
So if they're twins, how is he not? That always confuses me, because like every other basketball twins, for the most part, basketball twins are like basically the exact same player, except for John and Davis.
Well, they like brought them up differently so they could play together, right? Like one is a wing, one is a point guard, and then Ausar, by the way, will enter the NBA as like, I don't know, one of the 30 best athletes in the NBA. Like he's a well above average, maybe not elite, but just like sub-elite athlete, right? He's, like I said, he's going to be one of the 30, 25 best athletes in the NBA from day one. He's just not, he doesn't have the twitch that Amen does. Amen, his highlights are like anything you will watch. Like seriously, like go out and like watch those. They're just
I need to do my homework.
Some of the things he can do.
Sounds like I need to do my homework. I need to go watch.
And he throws like crazy live dribble passes too. He's ridiculous. He's.
Did you say
Amen is special in like a weird way?
He's just got that Mac McClung.
Kind of
jumping to him. Would you say?
Yeah, like it's very similar to Mac McClung. It's like if you combine like Mac McClung, it's like if you combine like Mac McClung with JJ Redick without the shooting though of JJ Redick.
Shades of Gabe York.
Gabe York. It's like Nick Johnson, actually. Yeah.
All right. So Thompson twins. I'm just trying to. I don't know, man. I'm worried. I'm worried as a college basketball guy, Sam. I'm worried that all these dudes that did not go to college. I'm worried that Shibwe Are you aware that the every Naismith Player of the Year was drafted in the top 10 until Jameer Nelson in 2004, and then Frank Mason was the first second round guy of all the guys that won the National Player of the Year. Frank Mason was the first guy who entered the NBA draft with the Naismith Award and did not get drafted in the first round. So every single guy went top 10 until Jameer Nelson in 04. And then they started, you get like Redick, who was like 11th, I think. Hansbrough was like 13th. There were some like later guys, but they were all still first round. And then Frank Mason comes along, and now all of a sudden we're getting second rounders with Jalen Brunson, Luka Garza. And now we're looking at a draft this year with Oscar Tshiebwe, Sam, where we have a National Player of the Year who is not going to hear his name called in the NBA draft. And this is making my head, not that I think Oscar Tshiebwe should be drafted. I'm just saying, like,
do you think Oscar should have won National Player of the Year?
He should not have.
Yeah, like
and I think going back to Jameer Nelson in 04, I think Emeka Okafor probably was snubbed out of that one. But it'll make your head spin thinking of like Zach Edey not being able to get drafted, so he's going back to Purdue, and Edey probably would have gotten drafted in this draft. But
Edey would have gotten picked in the top 40, I think, for what it's worth.
And then on top of it, to see all these dudes from Overtime Elite in France and elsewhere getting drafted, it's just like, I don't know where we turn. We turn to Brandon Miller. Is he the college basketball savior? Because that man was like hated more than anyone else in college basketball this year. What a tough position to be in.
I think, well, like, it's funny. Like, so if you're not going to turn to Brandon Miller, you turn to Cam Whitmore, who like didn't do anything at Villanova.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah. Do you turn to Anthony Black, who averaged 13 and 4?
Well, let's talk about some of these college guys, because I think a lot of my audience is obviously college basketball people, and they want to know where these guys. So we talked about Brandon Miller a little bit. I still think Brandon Miller is just an insane talent, and I believe in him. Obviously, he's going to play in the NBA as long as he wants to. At the level you're splitting hairs with the guys at the top. We're talking about, like, is this guy going to be a 10-time All-Star, or is he going to be a 7-time All-Star? That just seems to be how the discussions are had about guys at the top of this draft. I don't know, but I am confident that Brandon, like, he has a very low floor, does he not? Like, Brandon Miller, like, there's no way that this man, injuries aside, with the way he shoots it, how good he is defensively, like, how does this go wrong for Brandon Miller from just a pure talent standpoint?
Yeah, I don't think it will.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
You're right. Yeah, like, it won't go fully wrong. Like, where he doesn't reach his ceiling. Here, I'll ask you this question. You watched a good amount of Alabama. Did you think Brandon Miller was a good finisher at the rim this year?
That's a good point. Yeah, he was better than Jabari, I will say. Jabari Smith. Was he not?
What do you think Brandon Miller shot at the rim this year in half-court settings? So outside of non-transition settings, what do you think Brandon Miller shot at the rim this year?
Well, I like everybody else, I go back to the South Carolina game where he makes the big plays, finishing tough layups. But just hit me with it. Oh, no.
He shot 39.5% at the rim this year in half-court settings.
Oh, no.
And a lot of that was early. Like, he had those games against Houston and against North Carolina was one where, like, he just, didn't make anything at the basket. He got better at it throughout the year. And I think that's a big piece of the conversation with Brandon Miller, is that the improvement he showcased throughout the year was really impressive to NBA personnel. But 39 is, like, quite poor.
It's bad. And it was on full display against San Diego State when I was screaming as a guy who was filling out a legacy bracket, Sam, and had Alabama winning it all. I was screaming, losing my mind, that Alabama just refused, and Brandon Miller, chief among them, just refused to just shoot a mid-range shot, just one mid-range shot, just one, like.
So that's the really funny thing about Brandon Miller. So that's more of like an Alabama thing. When Brandon Miller was like coming up, the book on him was that he couldn't shoot threes and that he was like a mid-range dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's funny. Like, if you watch him shoot from the mid-range, like, he has that low release point from three, right? He's someone who, like, actually, like, raises his release point when he, like, shoots from the mid-range and can get shots against guys. It's so bizarre. It's a weird situation.
Well done working that out of his game, hey Notes. Well done. Just a job well done on that one. So I think Brandon Miller, even if, like, worst case scenario, assuming no injuries and all that, like, I think he's going to have a fantastic NBA career, and he's going to be awesome. So I think we can count on him to represent college basketball. I'm looking. I made like a list of like dudes that were like blue blood type play, like guys that played at like the blue bloods, or like were relevant. If you watch a lot of college basketball, you saw these. This is not your Cam Whitmores of the world. These are the guys that like should be familiar with college basketball. Anthony Black, a name you mentioned. Long, athletic. I I think he has a disgusting jump shot, which old man take. I think it's the hair, Sam. I think he's got the Elfrid Payton
Top
shit going
heavy.
on, where he's like his hair is in the way, and I do think I really do think if he cuts his hair, it might fix his jump shot. I really do.
Could help. Yeah. That's the oldest man take you've given in a while. I love it.
And then I'll double down on old man takes about Anthony. Like I do think sometimes he's got like immaturity issues, or like sometimes like I felt like this Arkansas team was very unlikable. And a lot of it has to do, like SEC people will be like, listen, it's because it's Muss and it all starts at the top with Muss. I generally like Muss, I do, but like something about this team this year was not likable at all, and I ultimately like kind of landed on Anthony Black, just kind of. I don't know if that's enough to deter you from taking a guy like that, but that was just something that I just noticed every time I'd watch Arkansas. I was like, this guy's a little shit, kind of. Like he's got a little, like not. It's not like a fun, competitive like Colin Sexton shit talking that I would see. It was like he's kind of like a douche a little bit out there, not in a good way.
Oh, he's not. I'll tell you that. Like he is not that. He's like a pretty good dude.
Is he?
Like he's
Okay.
He's like pretty quiet. Yeah. Like not a. Yeah, not that kind of guy. But like on the court, he's super competitive, and like that comes out. Like what you're saying is absolutely right in that regard. Like, but he's a good dude for sure. Teams like really, really like him and have like really.
Okay, that's good to know, because there were just a few instances where I felt like it was no longer competitive, and now he's like getting sucked into like fighting in the mud with like some sort of other.
I think he got. I think it was hard for him because like he's this guy who's like an attack oriented guard. Like he wants to drive, he wants to get downhill, he wants to, do X, Y, and Z. He wants to play in ball screens, right? And in Maui, you remember, like he could do that with ease. And the big reason why he could do that was because A, Nick Smith wasn't there, and B, Trevon Brazile was still not hurt. And Trevon Brazile was like their floor spacing 5-man, right? Who, long-term, probably a really interesting NBA prospect, but athletic, could rim run, like could pick and pop, could do a lot of different things. And he opened up the lane for Anthony Black. Once he tore his ACL, Arkansas took fewer 3-pointers this year than all but 10 NCAA teams, something like that, 12. And then they shot 31% on them. So teams would just pack the paint, collapse the lane, make things miserable for Anthony Black. And that's why the numbers aren't that good. I think he's like a basketball genius. Like you watch him, he throws like some of the most ridiculous anticipatory passes you will see.
He's so fun in transition. He's so, you brought up Maui. Like Maui, he was a treat to watch. He was so freaking good. That Arkansas, I love Maui thinking that Arkansas team was good enough to win a national title, and they probably were at the time. But he was a big reason why. I mean, it was so fun for me because like I didn't really know much about the kid, and I was just watching him out. I was like, he's incredible. But there was that little small part where I was like, he kind of gets sucked into, like he felt like a guy that was easy to bait into stuff. Like if you're a lesser player and you were guarding Anthony Black, you could kind of chirp at him and get him like almost unfocused because he was. I don't know. Maybe that's an old man take. And cut the hair, Anthony. I would say that too. Fix the jump shot by cut the hair. Cut the hair so you could, or at least pull it back better. Like at least like get like a headband that like pulls it back or something. He's like got it in his eyes and he's like shooting. His motion's terrible. I don't know. Anyway, I really like Anthony Black. But there's that. Cason Wallace was another name I wrote down that I wanted to talk to you about because this Kentucky team was a disaster for a lot of different reasons. Chief among them was just like the roster, the rotation, just like what guys were being asked to do was driving Kentucky fans nuts all season. But if you could look through all of that and you were just locking in on Cason Wallace, you saw a dude that had an insane motor. He's an awesome defender. I also think he has like a great feel for the game. I think he could shoot well. I'm excited about the idea of him at the next level. Am I right to be excited, Sam?
I think so. Yeah. Look, I think he's going to be a really good, like starter quality, role player, basically.
Yeah.
What I worry about is like, is he going to shoot it at a super high level or is he just going to be like a solid shooter? The big thing I'm interested in that we just didn't get an answer to because Kentucky spacing was an abomination is just like how good he is in terms of creating that mid-range jumper. We saw some real flashes of it and he was really good at it in high school. If he can get to that shot pretty consistently, I think it's going to really change his trajectory in his career a little bit. But defensively, he's a stud, obviously. And athletically, I felt like he's a little bit like boxy. Like I felt like he like couldn't like flip his hips all that well, maybe. I'm intrigued to see what that looks like in the NBA with like actual spacing. Like if he can just get downhill in a way that he wasn't able to at Kentucky because Oscar Tshiebwe was taking up half the paint, like I'm intrigued to see what that looks like. I think he could have a little bit more upside beyond what I'm saying.
Okay, all right. That's I again. I don't think he's going to be an all-star necessarily, but I just like I would watch Cason Wallace and I was like, you deserve a better Kentucky team. You were lied to in your recruiting. You were told that you were going to be on a great Kentucky team and you were not, and this sucks for you because there's a lot to hate about the Kentucky team this year, but I didn't think Cason Wallace was really among the reasons to hate that Kentucky team. Speaking of mid-range guys, Jalen Hood-Schifino, I want to ask you about him because I was in West Lafayette for the Purdue game, and when I say that was a legend, I do not say it lightly when I say that was a legendary performance. I mean, that was like I have never seen anything like that for a freshman in a rivalry game. In that environment, you've been to Mackey Arena, you know how loud it gets in there. He was just so clinical.
I've never been to.
You've never been to Mackey?
It's so disappointing. Mark,
maybe you don't know that.
It's a character flaw, to be honest.
Maybe you don't know how good this was then, Sam. Maybe you have
I don't know. I don't know anything about the toilets there.
Toilet, dude. Great bathrooms, in and out. You just get in and out. You got to pee during the timeout. You can get in, you get out, you get back to your seat. It's easy. Anyway, well, we could take this off air. You got to get to Mackey, but I thought like this was one of the more impressive performances that like it was one of the more memorable individual performances of the year in college basketball. For him to play like he played like he's 27, 28 years old, and he's a freshman in Big Ten basketball. Am I crazy to put so much stock in one game? Because he was good all year. But that was it. Like if you're trying to talk yourself into Jalen Hood-Schifino being great at the next level, you show that Purdue game over and over and over. And I walked away from that thinking like this guy's going to be just fine in the NBA. It feels kind of insane though to put so much stock in one game. So I don't know where to land on him because like there were times where he was also like his shot wasn't always the smoothest looking thing, and and for being such a high basketball IQ guy, like he wasn't always a high basketball IQ guy in every game.
He was a freshman sometimes.
Yeah, but that Purdue game, holy shit, dude, that was like it was incredible.
Well, what he is right now is he's like a drop coverage killer, right? You know that Purdue's going to play drop coverage every possession because Zach Edey is there, and he's incredibly comfortable getting to his mid-range jumper. The good thing for him is that a majority of NBA teams at this point still play drop coverage. So I think that he's going to have a lot of success being able to do that. Where he's going to have to make the adjustment is that when teams in the playoffs adjust to him and put two on the ball and force him into tougher spots in terms of his handle and try to pressure his handle, I think that's where it gets a little bit worried at the end of the day. That's where it gets a little bit worrisome for him. He also needs to work through his catch and shoot jumper. The jumper looks great on pull-ups, in pull-up situations. Like he has that ability. I mean, you know this much better than I do because you actually could shoot the basketball. Like how hard is it to realign your body when you're like in the air and you go up like wrong footed and you have to completely realign your body in midair and like get your elbow in alignment with the rim and like get your center of gravity going toward the basket. Right.
And just have that like nose for the rim where like, even if you jump up, you can always like square your shoulders and like that's very, very difficult. Yeah.
It's super hard. And he can do that though. Like the fact that he can do that from the mid-range is a huge skill. And to me, it says that long-term, he's probably going to be fine as a shooter. Like I think he'll probably shoot it at a pretty good level from the NBA 3-point line. It just might take a couple of years. And the good thing about him is he's a good defender. He's tough. He's big. He's long. He's physical. I think he's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm excited about him at the next league. He's just got like a maturity to his game that you don't see out of freshmen, and I don't know. I go back to that Purdue game and I just like my jaw was dropping as he was sitting. And granted, like you said, like Purdue's sagging off with the ED and playing the drop coverage, and he's kind of getting wide open looks, but like to be mature enough to identify the open look and to hit it, like I don't know. That's part of why I love college basketball, because a lot of point guards aren't that smart, and seeing the guys who can sort of figure it out on the fly and stuff is super fun to watch. And Hood-Schifino is a guy who just he from the start of that game, he was like, this is going to be my game, and they're going to sag off, and I'm just going to hit these shots, and I'm not going to try to like do anything else. I'm going to take what the defense gives me. Super mature approach to that game, and I don't know. I hope he kills at the next level, and I think he will. Last guy I wanted to hit on well, we're gonna hit on a handful more, but just in trying these guys that we're on super relevant teams that I need some help trying to figure out. Gradey Dick. I think coming off of the NBA Finals, where Christian Braun was such a pivotal had such a pivotal role for the Nuggets, and the Nuggets probably win without Christian Braun, for being honest. But for the story, it sounds good that he helps them win the title. I think it's easy and to just point to the white guy from Kansas on the wing and who can shoot a little bit, and then look at Christian Braun and be like, is Gradey Dick just Christian Braun? I imagine a lot of armchair NBA draft analysts are going to do that exact thing and just say Gradey Dick, Christian Braun, very similar. They're not fully similar. Explain like why they're different and how they're different and why. Yeah.
Like Jaime Hawkins is closer to Christian Braun than Gradey Dick is, I think. Hawkins is like good cutter, good defender, athletic on some level, different kind of athlete. Christian Braun, I mean, that guy's a motherfucker, like in the best way.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
That dude is competitive as hell. He fights, he defends, like that's more what he is. Gradey Dick he's a shooter. He's a floor spacer. Yeah. Gradey Dick's like Kyle Korver, more than Christian Braun, right? And Gradey has that super high release point. He's a really good catch and shoot player. He can run off of movement. He is really good at relocating oif if the guy closes out super hard on you, takes one dribble, sidesteps, knocks down a shot, like he's going to shoot at the NBA level. He's going to shoot. The question is like, is he a 38% 3-point shooter? Or is he like a 45% 3-point shooter? He could be either. I think there's a pretty real case for both. Depending on what you think. It's funny, like, I don't know if you talk to like people at Kansas, but like they were like not, I don't want to say they weren't excited about Gradey, but like early in the season, in the like off season, it was, like he looks fine. He's probably not a one and done, but like, he's not like quite as good of a shooter as what you would think. And then like in his pro day, again, didn't shoot super well, like looked fine. And then you go to a game and he just shoots the shit out of the ball. And I feel like that's kind of who he is. Like he's just kind of a gamer in that way where it's going to be fine. I will say, like, I thought Anthony Black did a great job blanketing him in the NCAA tournament and just kind of taking him out. That was what Arkansas did. They used Anthony Black just to shut him down. Eventually Kansas just kind of like spaced Gradey off into the corner and said, okay, well, we're just going to take Anthony Black out of the game if Anthony Black is going to take Gradey out of the game, and if he's going to stay attached, we'll just play 4-on-4, I guess, right? But Grady's a really good player. I'm very intrigued to see where he ends up. I would guess somewhere like 11 to 16, something like that. He'll go.
Yeah, I felt like I wanted to like him more than I actually did. I see the vision, and I think he's going to be good at the next level. He just felt like so erratic at times, and part of that was I think he had more of a green light than he probably should have had, but also he's very freaking good. So like, but there would be some there would be some Kansas games I'd watch where there would be big moments and Gradey Dick would be like, watch this, I'm going to hit the big shot. And then it was just like a horrendous shot selection. And you're just like, not in that moment, Gradey. Like maybe not that. Yeah. But he's a freshman and that's how freshmen play. And, I hope it works out for Gradey. So we can move quicker through these because I wanted to ask you about three guys that I have
a couple of questions for you at the end. So
okay. All right. Fun. So these are the three guys. Every time I talk to you leading up to draft, there's like I read your big board. I lose my mind that you don't see it the way I do, and I need you to explain this to me. So these are the three guys that I am irrationally high on, and I need you to talk me out of because I don't feel like you're quite as high as I am on them. First of all is Jordan Hawkins, who's my favorite player in college basketball last year. He is the best shooter in college basketball. The kid is an absolute fucking winner. He won the national championship, which some would argue is the best thing you can win in college basketball. Some, not everybody, some. He is a very, very hard worker. He's a capable defender. And like when I talk about him being the best shooter, it's not just that I would say he's better than capable defender, by the way. But when you talk about him being the best shooter, it's not just that he's like hitting wide open shots. Like this man is the focal point of the UConn offense. He's the focal point of every defense that was guarding UConn, and he would just take and make insane jump shots. from every spot on the floor, from every type of action, like he is definitively an NBA shooter. And we live in a time, Sam, where shooting seems to be the number one priority when you're drafting guys. What don't tell me that he's old, Sam. Don't just tell me that's the reason why, because he's a little older. Like, why? What am I? Jordan Hawkins is a top 10 pick. What are we doing?
It's that he's skinny more than anything. Like, he reminds me a lot of like Malik Beasley at Florida State. In terms of frame, he's better off of movement. Like, he's better at flying off of screens and being able to like set his feet and fire. Like, he'll have his momentum going like all the way back toward the other basket, like the opposite side of the court, and just like be able to jump stop on a dime and, you know, get his balance and center of gravity underneath him and be able to shoot. Right. Just like kind of a special shooter in that way. The thing with him is that he's just very skinny. Now, I agree with you that in college, he was solid defensively. I wouldn't say he was like a great defender. I would say he was like okay defensively. Yeah. He didn't get crushed defensively at all. In the NBA, he's so skinny and like his frame is so slight that I think guys are just kind of go through him.
Just flop
a little bit.
Just flop.
I think it's going to be hard. Like, he's going to be flopping 40 feet backwards when he gets bumped. Like, the big thing is like people talk about you can get stronger in the NBA. Like, 100%, you can add weight in the NBA, but the question is, does he have the kind of frame where if he adds weight in the NBA, it will take away from what makes him so special in being slithery coming around those screening actions, right? And having that like twitch and that ability to like, you know, kind of you wrap himself around like a screener and catch and fire, right? So I like Jordan. I have him as like a mid-first round guy right now. Like, I think it's totally reasonable to take him at 12 or something like that. But, you know, I'd take him
if he doesn't,
like 15,
if he's not
18.
if he's not a lottery pick, just what are we even doing? I think we shut the draft down and we restart it. I think we
he might go in the lottery.
I think we shut the whole draft down and we start at the top and we say try again, all you NBA teams, because you fuck something up. If Jordan Hawkins, I would take he's a lottery pick and I get it, he's skinny. Has there ever been in the history of a league a skinny guy enter the league who was a great shooter, and then I don't know, like a guy that people thought was like maybe a little too skinny, but he could shoot the piss out of the ball? I don't know. Did anybody? I don't know. Do we have any other? What I'm saying, folks, is Jordan Hawkins is Steph Curry, and draft this man in the top 10. Kris Murray is another guy that I'm very, very high on. Kris, explain to me how Keegan Murray goes, his twin brother, and they, from the Iowa basketball I've seen, they do actually play a very similar style. They are very similar players. Keegan goes number 4 to the Kings, has a great rookie year. Kris was awesome for Iowa this year. Iowa was not a very good team, and I think for that reason he's getting dinged a little bit. Why is that? Like, if you have the blueprint. His brother went 4 and was great in the league this year for a good Kings team. Great might be a little strong, but you know he was on a good team. He wasn't asked to do it. Yeah. He had a pretty good rookie year. Why is this not like why is he not like obviously a lottery pick as well? Like, what are we missing here?
Yeah, because what Keegan did really well this year in the NBA is shoot, and he could shoot off of movement, and he could shoot like in a variety of different situations. With Kris, what teams are worried about is the weird shooting mechanic, right? Like, he has that like significant ball dip. He has like kind of a low release point coming from the left side. Like, it's a bit odd in the way it looks. And when you got him on the move this year, shooting, it did not work as well mechanically. I think that's what he's trying to do in the pre-draft process, is try to simplify his mechanics a little bit. But if he doesn't shoot as well on the move and is more of a spot up guy, he's a little bit more limited. I also didn't love his defensive tape this year. Keegan, I think, was probably a little bit worse when they both played together defensively. So you could maybe make a case that like you limit Kris's role a little bit more, and it will, you know, allow him to expend more energy on the defensive end in a pretty real way. I would listen to that. I think Kris is going to be a really good rotational role player in the NBA. Like, I think he's a little bit more limited as a shot creator than Keegan is. He's got
such long arms like his brother. He's like I don't know. I'm probably basing this off of I went to Columbus and watched Ohio State game, and I was sitting very close and just like my eyes are just fixating on Kris Murray for most of that game, and he just had like a professional scorer attitude about him. I don't know, just like the way he scores, it's just so effortless. Like he's the type of dude that it feels like he hasn't even broken a sweat, and he's got 17 points, you know. And given that his brother is doing so well, it's like, why is this not? I mean, you kind of have the whatever. I don't know. I think Kris Murray should be taken higher than he probably will be. And then the third one, who I know you like this guy, but I'm talking myself into the Pacers getting him at 7, and I think he should go higher than 7. Jarace Walker from Houston. This dude, ridiculous frame. He's like chiseled out of marble. I think he's going to be an A+ defender. I'm sure other people disagree, but like I think he's going to be an incredible defender in the league. He's slightly short, but like that actually is not a bad thing. I don't know. I'm confused as to whether you want your big guys to be big anymore in this league. Because I thought you know, like a bumbling oaf is not what you want for a bigger man. So I feel like he's like the perfect size for modern NBA defense. I think he's got a high IQ. I think he is a capable shooter, and I think he's going to get better. I freaking love the idea of Jarace Walker falling to the Pacers at 7, and I can't believe he's not like going to definitely go in the top 5. I can't believe he's not in the mix. Is he in the mix to go top 5?
He might go 5.
Really?
There's a very real shot he might go 5.
All right, well, never mind.
To be honest with you, like that's kind of the name I get most for the Pistons.
I get that. I can't believe he's not going top 4 then.
Yeah, we talked to I did a thing today with James Edwards, our Pistons beat writer, and he thought like Walker or the Thompson twins. One of the two right now seem to be.
I would take. Again, I'm a fucking moron that doesn't know a lot about all these overtime elite and France guys, but I think Walker is 4 on my big board. I think it's Scoot, Brandon Miller, and Vic, obviously, and then I think I like Jarace Walker. But you know, that's just
so here'd be the question: how do you think he scores at the NBA level? Because that's my biggest worry. Is he had that tendency to not go all the way to the rim. He took those like bullshit floaters all year, and I don't know why he did that.
I think he was trying to show he was drinking the Nigel Hayes Kool-Aid when Nigel Hayes his last year at Wisconsin just was like a completely different player, and you're like, Nigel, what are you doing? And he was just trying to show NBA scouts he could do stuff. I think that's what Jarace Walker was in his head about that, and also he was in a weird. I think if you throw him on a team that wasn't the number 1 team in the country and competing for a national championship, he could showcase his skills a little more. But like he was in a weird, you know, playing alongside other talented dudes, having the spotlight with number 1. You're also the young guy on a team that's like, you know, this program that's been great, and Marcus Sasser's obviously like that's a weird dynamic to have Marcus Sasser be the face of the program, but also you're the best player. So I don't know. I dismiss it as some of that. To your point, though, he's not like going to obviously make his money on the offensive end. I wouldn't say like in terms of like that. That's not what excites me the most. But I think he's a good shooter, right? He's a good shooter.
I don't know. I mean, started the year really well as a shooter, then kind of tailed off a little bit late. Has like kind of that weird like, you know, hitchy kind of stop thing, and then he lets it fly a little bit. I think he probably will shoot. I'm not like 100% sure he'll shoot. The thing he does really well is pass. Like I love the fact that you can throw him like in a pick and roll, and he'll short roll, and then you'll try to collapse on him, and he'll absolutely throw a beautiful dump off pass, or he'll hit a kick out like cross corner, same side. Like he really knows how to read the court. Like that's exactly what you were saying in terms of the IQ. I think he's a super, super smart basketball player, which is why I have him in the top 6. But yeah, I'm definitely in on Jarace for sure.
With him and Taylor Hendricks, I feel like they're kind of similar. They're not similar players at all, but it just feels like a similar. Maybe it's not similar at all, but I go back and forth. Like Taylor Hendricks seems to be like the offensive version of Jarace Walker, but then like they're similar size, and the reason I would get I don't know, they're gonna play like similar positions, but but Taylor Hendricks is a better shooter, obviously. How do you would comparing them at all make sense in your mind? Like if you're like a GM and it falls to, if they're both available at 7 for the Pacers, is that a thing that you say you're like it's one of these two guys and you stack them up as you're sussing them out, or do they feel like completely different players to you? Because I think I see as like one's more offensive minded and one's more defensive minded.
I think they're both really good defenders. Like Taylor Hendricks blocked multiple shots per game, and you know is very impactful as a switch defender. I trust Jarace a little bit more because I think he's just physically stronger. I think his anticipation's a little bit better defensively. Like he flies around the court, is like a scramble defender really, really well. And I think that translates a little bit better to the NBA. But Taylor can shoot in a real way that I think Jarace, we think will probably shoot at some point. I think Taylor is a shooter at the next level. Like he will shoot. But he's not as good of a passer, not as good with the ball in his hands. I'd take Jarace over him personally, but like Rick Carlisle loves to find shooters and loves to find guys that will space the floor around Tyrese Halliburton and do a bunch of stuff. So it is tricky. Like they're both close as prospects. I think I have them like 6 and 7 right now.
Guys, I feel the flip to this is the guys I feel too low on, and I need.
Yeah, this is actually one of the questions I had for you, so I'm good.
Okay,
like
go ahead.
Yeah, the question I had for you is the guys that you watch college basketball and you go, what in the world do NBA teams see?
Okay. So I have to, as is always the case with draft talk, is I don't think this. I'm not saying the guy is a bad player. I'm just saying like I would have him rated lower than the consensus seems to be. And the most obvious one is Cam Whitmore. That is the most obvious one. The fact that he was inconsistent all year. He's kind of a black hole. This man averaged less than. This man plays on the perimeter. This is all you need to say about Cam Whitmore. This is all I need to say. This man played on the perimeter for Villanova. He had Villanova on his chest. He is an NBA talent that played on the perimeter for fucking Villanova, and he averaged less than 1 assist per game. Like that is impossible. You have to almost try to not average assists. It's
my counter to that is, did Villanova have Villanova?
I know. Was this actually a Villanova team? It is like the reason you talk yourself into Cam Whitmore is that he's a great scorer and he averaged 12.5 points a game on a team that went 500. Like I see the physical tools. I see the world in which Cam Whitmore is going to be a good NBA player. I think this idea that Cam Whitmore is like so obviously, again, this is why I go crazy, Sam, and I have to have you on because I know that I'm wrong, but I need help understanding why I'm wrong because I watched him this year and I'm like, yeah, good player. What I said this year was like he could be an All-American in a couple years at Villanova if he sticks around. And now he's like, I'm like, yeah, come back. By the time you're a junior, you could lead Villanova on a deep NCAA tournament run, be an All-American. That'd be a great career for you. And everyone's like, no, dude, he might go third in the draft. I'm like, what that guy?
Yeah. So Whitmore is like one of the hardest evaluations in this class. And there are NBA evaluators who like are 100% on the same page with you for what it's worth.
Okay.
Like you're not alone on this. I am not one of them. I think he is athletically, that dude is, I think he gets underrated as an athlete. Like P3 does athletic testing on the people that come through in Santa Barbara, like to their gym, sports science facility, whatever you want to call it. And the closest athlete in their system to Cam Whitmore is Anthony Edwards. Like in terms of pure power, burst, explosiveness, like all of it. Yeah. Like he is special as an athlete. When I watch Whitmore, I just look at him very similarly to how I looked at Jaylen Brown at Cal. Like Jalen had no space to operate, looked not great, didn't throw many great passing reads. It's a very similar deal, I think. And he's just so athletic that it's going to work. I get it if you're worried. Like I'm worried about him being a black hole of basketball. Like that's 100% a real, he's the Stacey Patton of this draft. Like it's tough to watch him play basketball sometimes, but I think the Villanova situation this year was not great. Like I think that he got hurt early in the year and was entering a situation with like multiple older players, kind of similarly to Jarace Walker. But unlike Jarace Walker, Villanova did not have a Marcus Sasser or a like elite level player. It was Caleb Daniels, it was Brandon Slater, like it was those guys where I'm sure Cam stepped in and was like, no, like I'm the dude here. Like, yeah, I'm the guy and I need to be the guy. But because he got hurt early, it was a little bit rough. I don't know. I just buy into the talent at the end of the day and the athleticism. I might be wrong. I'll take the hit on it if I'm wrong. Like, it's whatever.
No, you're going to be right. It's like I never say these things as though I'm definitely right. It's just more this is the world we live in, and where a guy can average 12 points a game on a team that goes 17-17, and I don't know. I'm old school like that, Sam. I'm my father's son,
with
and
him? I forget, because they lost those games early without him too.
That's true. That's a good point. But every time I watch him, I was like, yeah, I'm not even kidding. It's funny, but I'm not joking that I would watch him. I'd be like, yeah, he could, if he stays at Villanova, he will be a really, really fucking good college player someday. But he's not even close to a great college player right now. But you're right. Athleticism wins out in the end. Okay, that makes sense. Another one that came to mind was Dariq Whitehead. I think he's got to be the biggest question mark in the draft, right? But like 2 foot surgeries. Like, I felt like he looked a little pudgy at Duke this year, which, like, having foot surgery plus weight problems, maybe that's not a problem. Maybe it was like just a fluke, but whatever. That's not a great combo. That does not excite me. I didn't think he was he was very, very he had one of the more forgettable big time 5-star at Duke seasons that Harry Giles comes to mind, but then like Harry Giles I actually remember, because Harry Giles was like almost like you felt bad for him the whole time. Whereas like Dariq Whitehead, I was like, this is just like not working. And I if you wouldn't have known that Dariq Whitehead was like supposed to be one of the 2 or 3 best recruits going into the season, you would have thought the guy was a 3-star recruit. How the hell does he have a shot at being a first rounder?
It's because he was so good in high school at Montverde, and he was 220 pounds at Montverde, or 200 pounds at Montverde, and 220 pounds at Duke this year. And I think that the foot injury probably caused him some issues in terms of gaining weight, like just not being able to condition as well. So the idea here is going to be, maybe he gets
is he like the Michael Porter of this draft, where it's like he was the number one?
Sort of, yeah. It's honestly kind of like AJ Griffin last year. Like AJ Griffin looked super heavy at Duke, I thought. Like, you couldn't move really. He was a pure spot up guy, it felt like a lot of the time. And AJ's a better shooter than Dariq is, I think. But he got to Atlanta this year, and it seemed like he got into better shape than what he was at Duke and thinned out a little bit. And you saw more burst, you saw more athleticism. And I think that's the hope with Dariq. Look, no NBA person is going to tell you that Dariq Whitehead's tape this year was first round pick tape, like undeniably. Like nobody's even close to that. But I think that what they'll tell you is the Montverde stuff is like top 10 tape, and you kind of just have to make an informed bet on how much you believe he can recover from the foot surgery.
Okay, that makes me feel better. I thought we were basing this off of his year too.
No, I mean, like Dariq Whitehead didn't even make all freshman team in the ACC this year. So nobody's going to sit here and say like the tape is good. It's more the Montverde stuff that people.
All right, and then the last one that I wrote down. You have Kobe Bufkin at number 11 on your big board, and you not only have Kobe Bufkin. Okay, so first of all, I like Kobe Bufkin. I think he's smooth as hell, and I do like his game a lot. What I don't like is that you are an alum of Ohio State, as I talk about on this every time you come on the show, and I'm desperate for you to like help us out a little bit. Sam, you wrote the following words about Kobe Bufkin. I'm comfortable putting my chips in on Bufkin as one of my guys. You call this man one of your guys. You put him at number 11. He is the 3rd leading scorer for a 500 Michigan team, Sam. Blink twice if Juwan Howard is holding a gun to your head. Like, what is going on here? Like, say something nice about Bryce Sensabaugh so I know that you're not being held hostage. I mean, like, what the Kobe Bufkin at 11? Do
you want me to start on Bufkin or Sensabaugh? Or Bufkin, Bufkin or Sensabaugh first.
What? How? Why 11? Like, you could still like the guy and put him at like 17 or something. 11?
So Kobe Bufkin this year, I think, was like very clearly Michigan's best player. And the numbers back me up on this, like to a fairly substantial extent. When Kobe Bufkin was on the court this season, Michigan beat its opponents by, as I pull this up and the thing loads, Michigan beat its opponents by about 10 points per 100 possessions this year. When Kobe Bufkin was off the court, they lost to its opponents by 12 points per 100 possessions this year. Let's compare that to Jet Howard. When Jet Howard was on the court, the team won its minutes by like 3 points per 100 possessions. When Jet Howard was off the court, they won its minutes by 10 points per 100 possessions.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Kobe Bufkin is really good. Kobe Bufkin he was the guy, and I think that there was some early season, we're going to get Jet the ball stuff from the coach that may have an interest in Jet Howard and his success, maybe. Let's go with that as a take. Whereas once Jet got hurt, got the ankle injury and everything, they handed it over to Kobe. Do you know where Michigan finished in the Big Ten defensively this year, Mark?
Not great, I'm going to say.
No, they finished second in the league defensively in conference play.
Wait, really?
Yes. That's what's like. Basically, once Jet Howard went out, they started defending. And Kobe was a big piece of it. Like, we know Hunter wasn't like an enormous piece of it. I think Hunter's gotten better defensively, but
they got good down the stretch. But I was really, really concerned that Michigan was going to win the Big Ten tournament because they were so freaking talented, and it felt like a Michigan Big Ten tournament that they sneak into the NCAAs. I didn't realize
that he's just really good. Like, he helps you win games. He's really good defensively. He's a good shooter. He's a great finisher. He's decisive. He makes good decisions. Like, every NBA team.
How did he get so good from year one? Because he's a guy that if you wouldn't know any better, you'd assume he's a freshman. But he was there last year. Like, what happened?
How old do you think Kobe Bufkin is?
It's just that he's young.
He's 2 weeks younger than Jet Howard. That's how.
That's what
he got to college super early. And he's freshman aged, basically. Like, he put up numbers this year that like no freshman point guard did. And if you consider him a freshman, which he is based on his age, like, he's young. I have it in the draft guide. I can pull it up while we're talking. He is younger than Jet Howard, the Thompson twins, Brandon Miller, and Jarace Walker.
All right. I hate this.
I know, right? And with
not having
Bryce,
a good time.
Look, I have Bryce higher than everybody else in the public sphere. Thank you very much. I am in on Bryce. The problem is, I don't know if Bryce is going to go in the first round. I don't. And
if I watch this NBA draft and Jordan Hawkins slips to like 23rd and Bryce Sensabaugh does not go in the first round, I'm writing a sternly, no pun intended, worded letter to Adam Silver, and I'm saying, how dare you?
We know what the issue with Bryce is. Bryce had multiple meniscus surgeries in high school, and then had the injury at the end of the year at Ohio State. That's the reason he wouldn't go in the first if he doesn't.
Yeah, but God damn it, Bryce is so smooth. He's so good. Yeah, I like, for what it's worth, I do like Kobe Bufkin. I like him miles more than I like Jet Howard, and I agree with you that Kobe was the best player on their team. But 11 just felt 11. But you're right.
I'm higher on him than most, for what it's worth. Most people have him like 12 to 16.
I've taken too much of your time. Let's do rapid fire, and then I'll let you out of here. I love doing this.
I've one other thing I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
I need someone to give me takes on this. When you saw Steve Forbes this weekend call a press conference in order to just like shit on an agent for 20 minutes, what was going through your mind?
I think Steve Forbes has the old school mentality, shall we say. And I think like there's some miscalculations as to what college basketball is in 2023.
I was like, what is he doing? Like, so like Bobby Clemens, like rep by Excel, which is like one of the biggest agencies in basketball. Like, are you just like tanking a relationship with Excel? Like, if I'm Excel, I'm never sending him a player again.
I think he saw it playing out like it felt in his mind probably like a Tom Izzo type rant where Izzo will rail on the current state of college sports every so often, and Izzo does it in a way that like actually weirdly works for me, even though I disagree with some of the stuff he says. It's like I see where he's coming from, but Tom Izzo has the equity of being Tom Izzo that Steve Forbes doesn't have. So like if Tom Izzo's like, I think name, image, likeness is a terrible thing for college sports. People will be like, all right, I don't necessarily agree, but you are speaking from a place of like being a Hall of Fame caliber coach that's, so like maybe you see this in a way that I don't quite see it. I think that's what was going through Steve Forbes' mind is like, I'm going to be one of those call it like I see it type guys. It's like old, an old school. I'm going to bring some old school flavor to this college basketball world. I'm just going to shit all over an agent. And yeah, I think it was a miscalculation because that is a very bad idea in 2023
Yeah, I don't know what he gains out of it. And frankly, like, so like, look, I wrote the like first Bobby Klintman thing, right? Like saying, look, this is an interesting draft prospect. And the question is whether or not he's going to be in the 2023 or 2024 draft, right? He declared like through The Athletic and everything, and I wrote it. The thing with Klintman is I think that like Wake Forest fans are like a little bit confused on the timeline. So like Kevin O'Connor reports that Bobby Klintman is not going back to Wake Forest on the day that the combine starts on Monday, right? And the reason he did that is because like it's not like he didn't go back to Wake Forest on the day of the deadline and then signed this deal with Australia because he was scrambling between June 1st and June 12th to find a home, right? He chose Australia over Wake Forest well before that. Like this was the fallback option if he wasn't going to go through to the NBA draft, not Wake Forest. Like that deal was done well before it was reported on June 12th. So I think that Wake Forest fans have like that piece of it a little bit confused. And then the other piece of it that is important to note with Bobby Klintman is he is from Sweden, is we know from having dealt with like the Oscar Tshiebwe stuff and everything that comes with like NIL for kids that are on visas. They can't actually take NIL money. If you're on it's like against their visa. So if this kid wanted to make money to play basketball and do so legally, he kind of had to turn pro. So I think like the whole thing is like a misstep from Steve Forbes. Like I don't love any of it.
Even if you're in the right, and as you just laid out, he's not really in the right. But even if you are in the right, you just simply wish the kid well, and just move. Yeah, like there's a way to handle it, and there's a time too where you can, X number of months down the road, you can kind of slip in your shots as you need to with press conferences, but it doesn't have to be personal. It can just be like, kids these days, or like, I struggle at times with like keeping guys. I don't love dealing with agents because they will lie to you, and you just kind of say it like that. And you don't mention guys by name, and you don't make it very personal and very direct like that. Yeah, I don't know. Just I understood his line of thinking. I think he was like, I'm gonna just be a straight shooter. I'm gonna keep it real, and I'm gonna say what needs to be said. And that's probably what he told himself. But
I hope he keeps doing it. Like I think Steve Forbes is like an awesome basketball coach. Like and like he's great for college basketball in a number of ways. I just think like I have no idea what he was doing here. Remember
when he got hired at Wake Forest and his introduction video was him ripping off a COVID mask and spiking it onto the floor?
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild.
Fun times.
Okay, the last thing I have here, can we get TJ on the screen? Have you introduced Gavin Griffiths to TJ yet, Mark?
I don't know if we've talked about this or not. Have we talked about this, TJ?
Not specifically. Why? Should I be nervous?
TJ, do you know who Gavin Griffiths is?
Of course. 5-star, turned down UConn to come to Rutgers.
Yeah. Like, have you watched him a lot yet?
Yeah.
How much do you love Gavin Griffiths?
I'm pumped. We don't ever have scorers at Rutgers, so it's very exciting to have a guy that looks like he can put the ball into the hoop instead of just playing defense.
And also, like, plays like with rec specs and like dunks on dudes. And it's just like the best vibe ever.
He's beautiful.
I'll just be going about my day, getting ready to bite into lunch, and a text will come up that's just like a clip of Gavin Griffiths from Sam. It's just like, just out of nowhere, just from the clouds. He's just like, here's another one for you to watch.
I just daydream about the potential of a 2024 Rutgers lineup of him, Arius Bailey, and Dylan Harper playing together on the court at the same time, and it just makes me go cross-eyed with possibilities.
I hope that happens because it would be great. I'm like, I love Gavin Griffiths so much that I think that like he might be a one and done.
Yeah.
I think he's so good.
I get him. I
NBA
will
teams
be.
like I've like
ahead.
pitched that to NBA teams before, and they've just been like, "You are insane," and I'm just like, "Okay, that's fine. I'll live with that." But he's great, and he shoots, and he's 6'7", and he like is awesome.
Between him and Gus Yalden, am I saying that right? The Gus bus that's going to Wisconsin, this like 6'8", like 260 dude that Dan's high on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you watched Con Kneppel yet? Who's like this kid from Wisconsin who is in the next recruiting class, the Dylan Harper recruiting class?
Con Kneppel? How do you spell it?
Yeah, Kneppel, I think.
Kon
is his first name.
Kon. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What? He's
Yeah.
19th in the class.
Oh, he's amazing. Like you watch his like games, he just like absolutely like destroys people. Like good like top 50 prospects. Like he'll go in and just like obliterate them. That
Oh
kid
my God.
is from Wisconsin and looks like he is from Wisconsin. Like the most Wisconsin basketball player that has ever existed.
Oh my
And
God.
he just like dominates these dudes.
Oh my God. Is he going to do the Tyler Hero and commit to Wisconsin and then realize, wait, what am I doing? I should not do this.
It needs to be just needs to go to Wisconsin and just live up to the hype of
That'd be incredible.
looking like he does. And he's like not skinny, like he's like a heftier dude, not like hefty, but like for a 6'4" wing has some thickness to him. He is like a mid post, like, you know, creative, like deceleration, like just a monster. He's like Wisconsin Luka Doncic. It's the best.
I owe TJ ever since I started doing the show. Rutgers basketball has just completely fallen off a cliff, and they missed the tournament last year, and guys are transferring, and it's just been bad vibes on the show. And TJ blames me. That's why I do my best to I don't know, get on his good side, but it's definitely my fault. So we need this recruiting class to come together. We need Dylan Harper. You're all in on Dylan Harper, TJ. We're
focused on 2024.
We're moving on to 2024. Next year,
you got Cliff back. That was good. I didn't think that was going to happen for what it's worth. So that was big.
It is what it is.
I wanted to quickly, because I love doing this with you. This is the only show that you'll go on in the draft process where you'll get asked about some of these guys. I love asking you about players that literally me and me alone care about in this NBA draft. Well, that's not all of these are that way, but this is basically who will score more NBA career points. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Either or. I'll give you two. So Jaime Jaquez was one I wrote down because he's a bad first example for setting it up as like a guy nobody cares about. But Jaime Jaquez or Jalen Wilson were two guys that that college fans are very, very familiar with. They are not exactly lottery picks. Who do you see having the longer NBA career between those two?
Probably Hawkins. I'm a little bit higher on Jalen Wilson than some people are, but I would say Hawkins. I think Hawkins is just going to play a role in the NBA and be awesome.
Marcus Sasser or Isaiah Wong?
Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser can defend at a super high level, which I think will get him on the court more.
Okay. Drew Timme or Azuolas Tubelis? Neither's a choice too, but
probably Timme. I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance like Tubelis ends up like just making a crazy amount of money in Europe, being Lithuanian and dominating over there. So Timmy's probably the safer answer. I think they both get two ways though.
Yeah, I think they'll both get their shot, and they're both better than, maybe they're thought of right now. I don't know. Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me to see either one of them like stick around in the league longer than we thought they would. Oscar Tshiebwe or Adama Sanogo?
Oh, Adama. No, I think Adama is an NBA player for what it's worth.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I don't think Oscar is.
I knew you were gonna say that. I know you don't like Oscar, but I just feel like, listen, I'm with you. Oscar probably should not have won National Player of the Year, but also he did, Sam, and we have to live with that. Okay, so
college basketball has to reckon with college.
We have to cheer for this man to have some sort of success at the next level, but I don't think it's going to happen. And then finally, two dudes that may not even whiff an NBA court, but bucket getters, one of which like set the NCAA tournament on fire and is showing, and people forget, did declare for this NBA draft, but nobody's even mentioning him. Marquise Noel or Darius McGee, two short dudes, two bucket getters. Is there any world either one of these guys has any sort of hope or prayer of having an NBA career?
So I'm so glad that you brought up Darius McGee to me because I love Darius McGee so much. Do you know what Darius McGee shot this year on attempts outside of 28 feet?
Which it feels like what like
40%. So 5 feet behind the NBA 3-point line, he shot 40%. And
he shot a lot of them too.
Yeah, shots from beyond 30 feet, he shot 38% from three. He's a dude. He is awesome. I don't know if he can stick. They're both.
But he's like 5'9". Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
The safe answer is probably like neither, but if you
Noel has, I mean, like just for the handfuls of people who did watch the NCAA tournament and, you know, fell in love with that kid and are like, why is he not? Yeah. Just quickly explain why Noel has 0, other than being 5'7".
Honestly, that's it. Like being 5'7" is a huge problem in the NBA. It's why like it's the same with McGee. Yeah, like being 5'9" is a huge problem, and it's just hard. You're going to get hunted every time down the court in the NBA.
They should invite him to the green room so him and Vic can stand next to each other though, and we can get the Aaron Judge
the Muggsy Bogues bowl photo.
Yeah, we need that photo. I think that's it. Oh, last thing I was going to ask you, did you put Amani Bates at number 69 on your big board on purpose? Because I feel like if it like Amani Bates feels like a meme player, and for you to put him at 69, I was like, that is, I don't know, something's amiss here. Amani, he's a lost cause at this point.
I don't know. I don't like to call people lost causes when they're 19.
Yeah,
I would not draft Amani Bates. I don't think the team that has Amani Bates first is likely to get much value from Amani Bates. He's very talented. He can shoot. He can handle the ball at a really high level for being 6'9". But
yeah, I was hoping for the redemption arc, and I don't think it's happening, unfortunately. But I'll still keep pulling for it. It'd be cool if he can salvage an NBA career. But yeah, it doesn't seem.
It'd be great. Like I just feel bad. Like I do genuinely, like, it sucks. The whole story sucks. Like I would love for him to be very good, and it's just he doesn't know how to play right now. Like he needs to learn how to play basketball and learn how to play winning basketball is maybe the better way to put it. Eastern Michigan was terrible this year in part because of him.
All right. Well, and on a high note.
Great way to close.
Sam Vecenie, Game Theory Podcast, The Athletic. He is the only guy I trust with the NBA draft stuff. I tell you this off air, but I'll just say it on air so everyone else can hear what I say. You do such a good job of being so well informed, but like the way you deliver the information is not like I'm trying to prove how smart I am. So everybody, I mean this genuinely, and there's so many people that work in our space that similar lines of work that their motivation is not to like entertain the public or inform the public. It's like, please pat me on the back for being super smart. And you toe the line perfectly, where it's like you are very informed and very intelligent, and I always learn stuff talking to you, but I also don't come away from it feeling like a piece of shit because like you were talking down to me the whole time. So we love having you on the show, dude.
I like talking to people about it. Like I never think I'm the smartest person in the room. Like that's the biggest thing.
Which is unfortunately a rarity with this stuff. Honestly, it's like
I truly like am interested in what you have to say about Kobe Bufkin or Jalen Hood-Schifino, because I think that there's a lot to learn from a lot of different perspectives on this stuff. Like
and the crazy thing too is like the draft stuff. Like everybody has that one that they point back to about being right. And the one, you know, like everyone forgets when they're wrong, but then you remember when you're right, and you remember the time where you're like, I don't like him. He's too skinny. And that's all I need to say. And then you were right about it. And then you're like, see, my line of thinking, it's old school, but it works. But then, so that's what makes the conversations fun, is there is like kind of no right way to do this. They're just ways that are way more wrong than others.
It's hard. It's a hard job. Like I remember I was talking to a very, very, very high profile coach one time, and he was like, why do you do this draft stuff? Like it's all like a stock market game, basically. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, like honestly, there's a piece of that, like in terms of why I do it. Like I do like that part of it to some level. I like the idea of trying to project this stuff out and try to figure it out. But also, like I like talking about basketball, and this is a cool way to talk about basketball, like at the highest levels. So, yeah, no, it's
fun. It's a fun blending of the two types of basketball. You know, like college like it is. That's why I enjoy talking to you too, because I obviously look at this through a college basketball lens, and you know, a guy like Cam Whitmore, I don't think he's going to be bad at the next level. I just don't understand it, and so to just kind of find that middle ground of explaining, you know, I enjoy that too, because it's a weird, basketball is in a weird place where a guy like Oscar Tshiebwe can dominate college basketball, not even get drafted. What are we doing? I'm kidding. All right, Sam, you're the best, man. Thanks for doing this, and enjoy the draft. All right, thank you to Sam. If you are someone that's listening to this after the draft, if you didn't get a chance to see Sam's big board or whatever else, go help the guy out. He puts his heart and soul into this stuff. It's a great read, and even if you're someone that's like, I wish I would have known about this before the draft so I could have read it, but damn, the draft happened and now it's kind of too late. It's not. I don't know. Go back and read it, and it's great information about the guy. Like if you're a fan of one of these NBA teams and they drafted a guy, you don't really know much about him, go check out Sam's write-ups, and there you go, and you'll learn a lot. So yeah, I could have talked to him for 5 hours. I figured an hour and a half was plenty long enough. But
shout out to him too for being the first guy to bring Gavin Griffiths up, I think, on maybe any podcast out there.
The pandering was incredible. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's like, TJ is the Rutgers guy. Let's talk. We have to be the #1 Rutgers basketball podcast on planet Earth, I would say, TJ.
That was always the goal.
That was the goal all along. And I feel, as I said to you and him when we were talking, I have to allow it. You know, like I got to be honest, when I signed on a Barstool, I didn't think I'd be talking about Rutgers basketball this much, but also I feel personally responsible for Rutgers not making the tournament. So I feel like anytime Rutgers gets brought up on this show, I have to allow it, because it's like me paying you back for telling you over and over last March, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Don't worry. They'll be fine. They're definitely in. Son of a bitch. I mentioned it to Sam, and I just want to reiterate here. The pick is in. With the first take of the 2023 NBA draft, Mark Titus has decided that Victor Wembanyama will in fact be a bust. Lock it in. I'm riding with Wembanyama being a bust. Here's what I define as a bust. This man has been hyped to an extent that at this point nobody has ever been hyped. This is now there's I want to differentiate this. I do not think that he is the best prospect. I do not think that he is better than LeBron. But at this point, when you have Adrian Wojnarowski, who we know my feelings on this man, but you know, he is like one of the more prominent faces on ESPN, and ESPN is the prominent partner of the league. I mean, it's not like a straw man to just say that, quote, people are saying that Victor Wembanyama is going to be the GOAT. You have literally this guy saying he's the greatest prospect we have ever seen, maybe in the history of team sports, is the quote. If that is in fact the standard, Victor Wembanyama will not come anywhere close to that. That is my prediction. And I think that injuries will happen. I think that because it's an impossible standard. That's what I was saying to Sam. It's like it's absurd that we got to this point. I think that he is the most hyped guy, but he is not the best prospect, and for that reason alone, like he's not. There's no way he's going to be this good. I feel actually very confident about it. I was doing shtick at the start, but now it's like, I mean, if this man doesn't average 20, 10, and like 5 blocks a game his rookie year, he's already behind. He's like already. When you're stacking him up against MJ and LeBron and Kareem, and hell, even like recent rookies. Paolo last year had an insane rookie year. For Victor Wembanyama to have a better rookie year than Paolo Banchero, that's going to be not impossible, not even like maybe super difficult, but it's not a guarantee. That's not even a guarantee that he's gonna have a better rookie year than Paolo Banchero had last year. So I think I feel safe with this, TJ. I feel like this could be my defining take. I don't know how this goes wrong for me. I mean, like Victor Wembanyama literally becomes the GOAT, and at that point, I think I just go down with the ship, right? Isn't that what we learned with LeBron and MJ? Is that you just like even if he does become the GOAT, you just yell "not my GOAT" over and over. You're like, I don't care about his. Don't show me stats. Don't show me this. MJ was 6-0 in the finals.
You make like a tweet thread of like why his all championships, if he had 5 championships, why they're Mickey Mouse plus Jordan better.
Right. Win a real ring. I just keep saying that over and over as he stacks up titles. No, I genuinely think that I feel bad for the kid, but the hype is absurd. It has reached absurd levels that he's going to be a great NBA player, obviously. His physical tools are incredible. I am very excited to see him at the next level. I've been doing a lot of tongue-in-cheek, like, fuck the French basketball team type stuff. But no, as a basketball fan, like, of course I want to see Victor Wembanyama play, and it's going to be a ton of fun to watch his career unfold. But the hype has we did this with Zion. We how many times do we have to do this with guys? Why can't we just let guys be and then see what happens after that? And that's not to say like you don't get excited, like, but there's a middle ground. There's somewhere in between, like, hey, FYI, general public that maybe isn't clued into the NBA draft, this kid coming out of France is going to be very good. There's somewhere in between that and like this is literally the greatest prospect in the history of team sports, which is absolutely absurd. I said to Sam, like, he's coming out of Europe, he's less accomplished at this point than Luka even was. He's less accomplished than Luka. He's not as good as LeBron was coming out of high school. He's not as good as Kareem. Kareem was a better prospect by far than Victor Wembanyama. I mean, Kareem was the greatest high school basketball player of all time. He still is. Then he goes to UCLA, wins a national championship and national player of the year every single year. Just completely down. And then that man entered the NBA. And then that man was like, okay, now I'm ready to play professional basketball. I'm going to go ahead and say that man was a better prospect coming into the league than Victor Wembanyama because he was known. Every single person on planet Earth knew Lou Alcindor at the time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, was going to be a Hall of Fame basketball player. And yeah, you could, if you show me just the highlights of Victor Wembanyama, yes, that's probably a Hall of Fame GOAT level guy. There are a lot of other plays where that's not the case. There's also the problem of him getting hurt, which I think is a fair thing. So, I don't know. I think Yao Ming might have been more. I was probably more excited for Yao Ming was nasty, and look how that, like, Yao Ming got hurt all the time. I just think it's unfair to Vic more than anything else. That's how I'm gonna spin it, TJ. When I'm right, and I will be right. I'm going to not actually celebrate because I'm going to say I feel bad for Vic that he was put in this position that, like, he couldn't just be a 19-year-old kid entering the league. He's now has to be the savior of the San Antonio Spurs. It's unfair. It's ridiculous. So,
you didn't want him to fail.
I didn't want him to fail.
You just knew he was going to.
I just, like, my job as I sit here is to just speak the truth. I speak the truth, TJ. That's what I do. And people don't like it, you know. I don't, but I speak the truth. That's what The Boston Celtics were down 0-3. They won one game, and everyone's like, the Celtics are going to come back and win. And I was like, I don't want to. You think I want to be a Celtics hater? That's not what I want. But
I think some people think that's what you want.
No, me.
Around here, I think some people think that's exactly what you want, was to be a Celtics hater. No,
TJ, I just speak the truth. And then I was right. And what do I get for it? I just get shit on. I just get told, you know.
If Wemby's baseball throwing ability is any indication of his basketball playing ability, he's in trouble.
He's not an athlete. He's a circus freak, and there's a place for that. I just don't think he's going to be one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. I don't think that's. I feel good doing this. I should do this for every single draft.
Yeah.
Next year, I'm just.
You could run this script every year forever.
Yeah. DJ Wagner, not gonna. Bronny James, not the greatest player I've ever seen. Not the greatest prospect. Every single draft, I'm just like, whoever's supposed to go number one, I just yell, no, he's not going to be the GOAT.
The easy take for Bronny James is you just say that Bryce is actually going to be better.
Bryce is better?
Yeah.
I'm not being crazy, though. Like, this is the hype. You would agree that the hype for Victor Wembanyama is is like it is unprecedented. Like as much as they hyped up Andrew Wiggins and Zion Williamson and Greg Oden when he was coming out of Ohio State, like this is what basketball media does: is you hype guys up going into the draft. I understand that. This is on a level that is just frankly absurd. I can't believe that. I don't know why people are doing this. Why do this to this kid when it'd be one thing, TJ, if he was averaging like 40 a game and Sam, I mean, I said that to Sam and Sam was like, his numbers are good. And I'm like, I don't, maybe we're not looking at the same numbers, but he's averaging like 21 points a game in France. Like that's not bad, obviously. I'm not saying he's bad, but like they're talking about this, like, I don't know. It's driving me crazy. As a guy that lived through LeBron James, we've done this on the show already, but as a guy who lived through the LeBron James coming of age era where he was coming up in high school and then entered the draft, to just speak as though Victor Wembanyama is clearly a better prospect than LeBron is insulting. It's insulting, but for that reason, he's going to be a bust. So, sorry to the Spurs fans. I do think he's going to be very good. I think he'll win a championship. I think he'll win one MVP at some point. Put me down for that, but he's not going to be. I don't even think he'll be the best player of this generation. I'll say that. I think he won't even be like the defining player of. Okay, now I'm going too far. Maybe I should just stop on that. The take is he's not going to be GOAT tier. He will not be GOAT tier. I think when Victor Wembanyama retires, if you're someone that says, I believe that the career he just put forth in the NBA is good enough to consider him the GOAT, you will be laughed out of the room. You will be told you're a buffoon, shut up, you never get to talk about basketball again. That is what I think Victor Wembanyama's career will be. But it'll still be a very good career. Unless you're Brandon Miller, and then Brandon Miller will be like, he's my GOAT. You saw that? Brandon Miller said Paul George is the GOAT.
Yeah, I don't really understand what's going on there.
I don't either.
Is there like an inside relationship or something that I don't know about, or that's preposterous to say?
I need like a next year. Sam needs to include in his big board like the actual red flags, which are ask every player their GOAT. So yeah. we have that on record, and then also. Like include Victor Wembanyama's first pitch in his scouting report. This is stuff that people need to know. I need to see Victor Wembanyama throw out a first pitch. I need to know that Victor Wembanyama swept in his French finals thing, whatever the hell they call it, the French League finals. These are the things I want to know. I want to know who their GOAT is, who their favorite rapper is. I want to know all that shit because I think it matters. And I think Scoot Henderson, without knowing a ton about him. The stuff I do know about him checks all the boxes, so I'm scared to learn too much because I'm buying too much Scoot Henderson stock. Anyway, I'm excited for the draft. Should be fun tonight. I saw Woj is saying that he's trying to like back off on spoiling picks. We'll see how long that lasts because Shams will start spoiling it, and then Woj will.
It's their job.
We'll get a dump in his diaper, and then he'll just start firing off tweets that he'll make it about himself, which is what he's great at doing. So I'm sure that'll happen. But I'm gonna do my best to watch it and pretend like. The outside world doesn't exist. And the only thing that exists is what's happening on my television. And that'll be fun. Anything else before we go?
I had some random shout-outs. I also, did you see like the Jaylen Brown rumors that he's getting signed and traded? And there's a lot of names in the rumor mill right now. I don't know if anything has actually happened, but
it's the mill is turning.
The mill is milling.
It's milling.
The NBA calendar is getting ready to not take a break between the draft and summer league, which I guess is good for us as podcasters.
I think this is just the perfect time to throw out all that shit because the draft's coming up. So how much of it's smokescreen, how much of it is, not. I don't think the Celtics are going to trade Jaylen Brown, but maybe they will. Yeah, maybe. Who will see? But I think they're going to run it back with him. It was that story, and then we never talked about Michael Jordan selling the Hornets for infinity dollars. Yeah. That's good for him, man. Good to see a guy like him.
He needs it, yeah.
He needs to stack up another W.
Right to the blackjack table.
Are you ready? Are you ready for the LeBron retirement ownership? Because LeBron's going to own a team. He's going to own a team in Vegas. Like he said, that's what he wants. And Adam Silver will do anything LeBron wants. That's going to enter the part of the GOAT conversation. People are going to start comparing.
Who's the GOAT owner?
Who's the GOAT owner? Yeah, because the Hornets, MJ's great. We love MJ. But also, horrendous stint as the owner of the Hornets.
Yeah.
The Hornets are a joke of an NBA franchise,
and they're still worth $3 billion. It's
crazy.
Who's the real fool?
My brilliant idea for investing is go back in time and be super rich and then buy an NBA team.
Yeah.
And then sell it later. Yeah. I don't know why more of us didn't do that when I don't know why my dad didn't buy an NBA team in the 90s.
Yeah.
I feel like he really would have set up the kids for success.
In the early 90s, an NBA team probably cost like $400.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, very early 90s, before 91 when MJ won his first, you know. I think he should have done that and he didn't, and it's the other move I guess is like getting involved in the MLS Ponzi scheme and getting a start on the MLS Ponzi scheme. But then I think now's the time to get out. You got to get out cuz that thing's going to collapse at some point. But yeah, shout out Michael Jordan. Good for him. Shout out the you're following this Titanic submarine story, right?
Oh yeah, it's the only, if you're a scroller on social media, it's the only thing you're reading about right now.
I'm obsessed with it. It checks every box for like a story that's compelling. I think if any one element was different, like if this wasn't super rich people and it was like 5 dudes that won a lottery, I think it's less compelling. If this was not the Titanic and it was just like they're going on a deep dive to see some sea creature at the bottom of the ocean, I think it's less compelling. I think if it wasn't like shut off permanently to where I feel like that part is compelling, where it's like they're locked in and even if they float to the top somehow they're still stuck. That's compelling. The fact that there's a toilet on it honestly makes it the fact that there's a toilet on this thing makes it like more funnier to me than if there wasn't even a toilet. Like the fact that there's a toilet, like I don't know, and I picture them just like shutting the curtain still and the whole thing's fascinating. The whole thing is absolutely fascinating, and I can't stop reading about it. But I'm getting frustrated, TJ, because every time I try to get updates, there are no updates. It's just people talking about the past. It's like the update is like, we talked to this guy from 2018 who said this, and we have this video from 2021 that was this, and I'm like, do we have an update on, are we going to find them, not going to find them?
Yeah, I think we are reaching by the time this is out, we will have already passed like the critical apex moment. So by the time you're listening to this, they've either been found or the opposite of found. They've been lost.
I mean that obviously plays into it too. Is like you don't know if they're alive or not at this point.
The race against the clock is like
the race against the clock.
Feed me, feed me updates.
If everything about this story was the exact same, except the report was they went down and died, and we know that they died immediately. I think people are like, damn, okay, and then they move on. But it's the race. It's just like every single box of this is I can't get enough of it. So
my biggest gripe, and it plays into my next shout out, I guess, is that they keep showing the little Logitech controller that the ship is controlled by, and people keep calling it a PlayStation controller. That's clearly a bootleg Xbox controller. I don't want, as a PlayStation you do not slander our name. There's clearly a green A and a red B and a blue X and a yellow Y on that controller. Don't put that on PlayStation.
It's journalism in 2023, dude.
Yeah,
that's what. It's ridiculous. That's part of it too. The equipment they're using.
Yeah.
It's so freaking fascinating. But I can't get any updates, TJ. I just get like jokes. I get the jokes. Congratulations to everybody. They were super funny, and they're But I wouldn't say laughing along, but I was like, okay, I'm with you. But then after like one full day of the jokes, I was like, can we get an update? Can I get like one literal update of what's going on with this thing? So absolute torture hell situation. I can't, like, that is all the top 10 worst ways to go, like all put together in one, I would say, like in the dark with your pants having been shit probably at the bottom of the ocean.
It's gotta be
that's so brutal, dude. Gotta
be bad.
So bad. So shout out to those guys, I guess. Hope you're doing well.
They're probably listening to the pod. What else would they do?
They got time on their hands. they're probably listening. I think that's all I got. I don't know. You got anything else?
I just wanted to shout out the there's a lot of construction going on at the New York, not construction, but rearranging going on at the New York office right now because they're sort of redesigning this as a counterpart to opening the Chicago office, making it a little more camera friendly. And the Barstool Game Time room was caught in the crossfire and is being taken out. So 4 years of gaming at Barstool Sports, that chapter has seemingly come to a close, and that was a big part of my upbringing here.
Or is it the rebirth? Are we gonna resurrect it in Chicago?
There might be like a streaming space. I don't know if it's. Maybe Hank might set something up. Anyway, this room is no longer a gaming room.
I don't understand why we don't have. We should do this in Chicago. We should do game. We should just do.
We've tried so many iterations of video game content at Barstool, and it's. I don't know. I think it's just our audience is tapped out on it. I wouldn't rule it out. Obviously, when Big Cat did it, it was the biggest literal thing on the internet for that summer. But it was literally the biggest stream on Twitch.
But it was also COVID, and
So like, there was a lot of other factors into it, but. I don't know. End of an era.
I love the but like, what's the production cost if you and I just like played Tony Hawk on a live stream every so often?
Right.
So let's just do it. Let's just you and I do it, and then
for the love of the game.
For the love of the game, yeah. And we don't want people to watch. Like that's our whole thing. It's like we're just doing this. We don't want to grow an audience. I think that's how you do it. You say we don't want an audience, and then the audience comes to you, and you're just like we want to do this in private. Please don't watch this.
Right.
TJ and I are just trying to play. We're just trying to play Tony Hawk in private. Leave us alone.
Yeah, it's like don't push the red button.
Don't push the red button, and then all of a sudden you and I are dominating Twitch because we're.
Trust me, you do not want to watch this stream.
All right, that's it. Enjoy the draft. Summer is officially here, by the way. Shout out summer. Shout out seasons. Shout out everyone having summer plans. That's gonna be a ton of fun. And shout out to the NBA. Oh, dude, I don't want to be like. I'm not like that kind of guy, but it just like hit me. I'm gonna have my birthday between now and next show, so I don't want like a birthday celebration or anything. But I have reached an age where I do have like an existential crisis every birthday now. I have like a mini breakdown, so I just wanted to I just wanted to put the warning out that like if Tuesday's show rolls around and I sound like even more of a crusty old man, it's because I am. I'm literally 1 year older, so.
You should do a dramatic, like look change for this birthday.
Yeah.
You should bleach your hair before the next episode.
Shave my head. Dude, if I shave my head and my beard, I would look like a completely different person. All right, that's it. See you, everybody. Good luck to Victor Wembanyama. Hope you're not a bust, but you probably will be. See you guys on Tuesday.